I know we all heard this before, so yes, let's skip it. So can we perhaps close the lights? I don't see if you guys can see. Nice and cozy. Yeah, look at that. A little bit more, a little bit more. Oh, now it's can you see it better? Let me know if you can't see it, then you're probably blind. I don't know. All right, so let's do this. And yes, this is 33.6 BPS mode and emulation, by the way. So awesome. Who am I? Well, Lucas Lundgren. I'm from Sweden, so I'm actually a native, as some of you call it. Been breaking stuff since the young age of 12. Been at companies such as Sony Ericsson and IOActive, and also been a member of the famous Corelan Team, which was awesome, really awesome. Spent a lot of time in unhackable environments, unhackable, quotation. I do fuzzing, exploit development, web application. Everything that I can break, I like. And of course, IoT is something that is close to my heart.
Okay. Does it work? Cool.
Yeah.
Found the mute button. So that's my technical skills. So Neil Hindocha. I've been working with security. Actually, that's pretty much the only thing I've been doing. So I started working in Symantec 99 in research, doing AV work back when it was fun. These days, it definitely isn't. But back then, it was really fun. So I was do a lot of reverse engineering. Was developing tools and some parts of the products for the Symantec Enterprise product line. Then since then I've been a consultant for a few different companies, Trustwave, Verizon Business, and these days work with Lucas in FortConsult.
So we're going to talk about a protocol which is called MQTT. Now, when I mention MQTT to people, they go, "What? Is it like a RabbitMQ?" Nah, not quite. So MQTT was invented in 1998 and 1999 by Andy Stanford Clark and Arlene Nipper. One of those guys worked for IBM. Why did they do it? They wanted a small, fast, efficient protocol to send data, no matter the network. It could be a modem, it could be a satellite, it could be a good connection or crap connection. They didn't care. They just wanted data to be delivered as fast and as efficient as possible. Same thing with the quality of service and the bandwidth. And MQTT, some people say it stands for message queue. I say I don't know, because MQ was IBM's product back in the day. What that stands for, nobody knows, but if you want to call it message queue, then please do. It's royalty free as of 2010, which means that you're free to use it as well in your awesome IoT projects. It's become a OASIS standard, October 29, 2014, and it has also become a ISO standard, like the day after my DEF CON talk. So.
Okay, so how did this all start? We're doing a pen test, and on a customer network we found port 1883 open. Had no clue what it was. So, obviously when you have no clue what it is, you start analyzing it, start looking at it, and after a little while we figured out that this is something called MQTT. Next question, what the heck is MQTT? Fortunately for us, the customer environment we were testing wasn't actually that working at all. So we had some time on our hands. So me and Lucas were sitting down and we were start to analyze this, and we found some quite interesting stuff.
So what we know about MQTT, it's what we are known as a server. The MQTT calls a broker. And broker is basically the main server where everything should end up. So if you have your own server / broker at your home and you have a sensor in your attic, you would perhaps make I call them channels because I'm an IRC guy, but they're basically called topics. So you would like to make a topic called My Home Attic or My Home Attic Sensor 1. And maybe your sensor will measure humidity in the attic. So if you wanted to say that if the humidity is above 16%, then turn the fans on. So further than that, it's awesome. I mean, you can use anything. You can use the O. Long Johnson, O. Don Piano, Via Isia, if you would like, but you're supposed to remember these as well.
Actually, you don't have to. There's a way of just forgetting them and still accessing them, no?
Yeah, exactly. We'll get to that.
Yep.
So this is my awesome ANSI of how the MQTT would work. So you have the MQTT Broker, and you have logistics with packet delivery. And you might have a sensor that actually weighs the packets, saying that it's heavy as hell. And then you have the truck, and the driver of the truck saying that, Jesus, I need a bigger truck for this package. And then you have the monitoring logging that actually checks the packages and everything. So that's how it's supposed to look. Now, you probably want the high-res graphic, right? So let's download the high-res graphic. This is how it should look. All right. So the MQTT broker and the protocol MQTT is used in different, what I call it, branches: transport and logistics, security and surveillance. Now I start to feel a little bit bad. And industrial and energy, and even healthcare. And that makes me cringe a little bit, knowing what I know, what you will know soon. All right, so here's a complete ripoff of the MQTT manual that I think nobody ever read. Now, in the manual, they say there's a couple of threats that solution providers should consider. Devices could be compromised. Pretty straightforward. Data at rest in clients and servers might be accessible. Might be, okay. Protocol behaviors could have side effects, for instance, timing attacks. We have the denial of service. Communication could be intercepted, altered, rerouted, or disclosed. And injection of spoofed control packages. There was also a warning that says MQTT solutions are often deployed in hostile communication environments. Oh, come on. The internet is a nice place. And if you want the manual, it's actually down there, and this just takes you to the segment exactly describing this. That's the manual for MQTT.
Okay, so we found 1883 open. The question is obviously, how much is this used? We had to check. So Shodan is the obvious place to go. Did some queries on Shodan. You can see them up there, and those are the results. That in total it had about 17,000, well, about 18,000, close to 18,000 brokers. So these are brokers. It doesn't say anything about the Census. It just says there are 18,000 servers listening on the internet from Census. And Shodan also indexed the topics, and you can see some of them here. That's pretty much all the information that Shodan had. So topics give you some information, but in many cases they're just random strings. You can't actually figure out what's behind them. So it's a little bit of data, but quite limited actually, or was.
So just to keep you hanging, because I'm such a tease, some other news that actually I need to update you on since I had my couple of talks. Cert.se issued a warning. I don't know if you read it. It's on their homepage over MQTT. There was a OS system vendor at the SecT conference. I actually joked a little bit if there's anyone from XYZ in the audience, and he said, yeah. Oops. But anyway, they closed their vulnerability. Some news have been writing about it, but not much. Shodan allows you to get the MQTT data now. And for those who don't know, I met John Madley. He's a crazy censor. He actually told me, why don't you just subscribe to everything on the internet? He doesn't have the limitations of a normal human being, so sure. Nice spelling error. We're going to do his talk on other conferences as well, so I'll announce in the end.
All right, so so we found this, right? We found this port open. Shodan says there's 17,700 servers, roughly. It had the topics. We obviously did something else, which we'll get to in a bit. And we found, well, it might not be a secret, we found a heap of data, like insane amounts of data. And the question is, what do you do? Just imagine you're in this situation. We were in this situation. We just did some stuff, which we'll present soon. In the end, we're sitting with a bucket of data, like a massive bucket of massive amounts of data. And the stuff we saw was interesting, to say the least. So we're discussing what do we do with this. In some cases, I'd say maybe 20, is it 20 or 25%, we could figure out what the sensors were, who actually ran the broker, but in the rest of the cases we have no idea. There were cloud providers, there were random strings, we had no idea what was going on. So, what do you do? Ask yourself that question. What would you do if you had all this data, and in a bit you'll see what it is, but I'm sure you can imagine the stuff we saw. What do you do with it? So we started by contacting some of the ones we knew to have them close the things that we thought were really serious, and there was some really serious stuff here. And then we were discussing it, and we decided that it's not possible that we are the only ones. It's just not possible. Someone else somewhere must have figured out that there's a port open here, brokers everywhere, you can just start grabbing data off them. So we decided we were going to do a presentation around it, because we closed what we could close, the rest we didn't really know what to do with, so we said, you know what, let's inform everyone. That has to be better than just whoever happens to figure it out knowing, right? And we submitted a DEF CON talk, which we were accepted to, presented it there, and before the presentation, our expectation was that we had this big balloon and it's gonna explode. Once people see this, it's just gonna go boom. I mean, I've seen talks about temperature control units, and they get tons of media attention. And I've seen talks about light bulbs that someone can, or even the Wi-Fi baby monitor stuff. All of those things are in this bucket, all of it, or in this balloon. And we did this presentation expecting things to simply blow up. Turns out the internet is a nice place. So instead of having this balloon exploding, it was like pricking a small hole, and the air is just slowly moving out. So what we learned from this, and it's been quite an experience, quite a ride. What we've learned from this is that it's sort of like, maybe not the best analogy, but it's sort of like the refugee crisis that was a while back with the waves of refugees coming in, and people were like, yeah, don't come here, sort of, whatever opinion you may have on that, but no one really cared, or a lot of people there's just too many people. Then something happens to one kid and everyone cares, right? And it's sort of the same thing here. We had this big balloon of data, and people were like, we have cars, we have some sensors, we have things you can't imagine. So if you ever end up in this situation, my recommendation and what we will do from now on is that we focus on specific things. Because if you release a heap of data, no one cares. But if you tell them that temperature sensor over there, that one's vulnerable, the one you see right there, they tend to care. So it's been really interesting, but yeah, it's moving along, and we've sort of changed our strategy now.
Cool. So, getting back to MQTT, we have and according to some vendors, and according to the manual, you should not subscribe to hashtag. So, I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. If someone tells me don't do it, I'm going to do it.
You should perhaps mention that you're like the only one to figure this out. At least no one had a mention of this, and this is sort of the key to the whole thing.
Yeah, probably developers knew it, and probably some of you guys in here know it. But, I mean, I haven't stumbled upon anyone. And that means that I can listen to stuff in the topic. So if I want to listen to something, I can listen to something, and add this little hash. Yeah, exactly. And just get everything. So if I just connect it to a server and just subscribe to hash, would I then get everything being transmitted to that server?
So the next step is obviously a Ruby script that connects to hash. And well, this is the script that Lucas wrote initially. So it just connects to a server, subscribes to hash, and yeah, gets the data.
Now, my script sucked. I mean, it's a small Ruby script. It's not the most efficient thing or prettiest thing ever. But we have one thing out there, which is called Mascot, which is like one of the fastest scanners you can actually have. So if I wanted to scan something, let's say the entire internet, why not use Mascan? Because Mascan actually has a feature that allows you to inject characters while you're port scanning. So for instance, if you wanted to add a GET request for a HTTP page, you can actually do that with Mascan and get the result back. So, but nobody has ever gotten it to work except Robert Graham, who actually wrote the tool. I reached out to multiple people over Twitter, multiple of my contacts. I'm like, I haven't gotten it to work. I'm giving my data to Graham, and he scans it, and I get it back. So I was kind of determined on getting it to work.
Okay, so I just wanted to do a short recap here, right? We found out port 1883. We know we can subscribe to hash. Sending in hash means everything on the server. We don't need to know the topics. We don't need to know anything. Just subscribe to hash, and you get all the info, every bit of communication on that server. So, Mascot. According to it, if you read the documentation, it says you can scan the entire internet in 6 minutes. Obviously, once you know that there's port 1883 open, you can subscribe to hash. The next logical step is to scan the entire internet, right? Anyone would get there. At least he did in like 10 seconds. It's like, oh, I have to scan the internet. So, so that's what happened. This is the connection string that's being sent. So this, what this does, it traverses every possible IPv4 address, connects to port 1883 if it's possible, subscribes to hash for 10 seconds, grabs all the data, and stores it. Right? So that's what we did. So we scanned the entire internet and listened to all communication for 10 seconds, and all the initial results were based on this return. And it was quite interesting. I think the hard drive went a bit haywire for a while.
A little bit.
And it took about a day, 6 minutes. And that's what Lucas looked like. It was like
actually seeing the data for the first time.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. So, what I got was 2.8 million results, which I pushed into Elk. And Elk, by the way, is Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. Oh my god, that's the hardest thing I ever done.
Works out of box.
Yeah, right,
Just
sure.
Next finish.
Yeah, no, it didn't. Some statistic, 59,000 estimated brokers is what I found. I found example data such as an emergency response system, saying we have a case of infectious Lassa fever, 1,400 level people are infected. I mean, it's a question. It would be nice if you can write to that, right? So you could say like, X amount of people has gotten like the zombie virus at OWASP. That would be, or whatever. You know, there's a heap of bunnies attacking people. I wonder if some pager goes off with some doctor in Thailand saying, "Oh my God," it's like.
All right. So some of the data we got, and this is all based on the 10-second listen to data. This is what you see up there. It's an IFTTT. So if this, then that. That's the data. I'm home, your son, and this is was a base64 encoded picture in there, and this is what we managed to decode out of that. Perhaps we should have listened for a few seconds more and we'll got the whole picture. But
that's actually the webcam, and what actually happens here is I actually used another tool to connect to see the webcam live. So I'm seeing him sitting there on his couch live over MQTT for some reason, I don't know why. But yeah, I could see him. I kind of censored him a little bit just to be like, yeah.
A lot of people want to, show themselves on the web.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not use MQTT?
Other data. This is the OMFG. You can translate it however you want because I don't want to swear.
And that's a lie. Just
yeah, that's a lie, by the way. So we have some session IDs, something that looks like a base64 though, which I decoded. And what I got here is usernames, password. This is Swedish, by the way. Passwords, emails, session tokens. First name, last name, address, social security number in some cases. Just connect to the broker and just listen. It gives it to you. You don't have to do anything. So let's run a demo, like a live demo, so we can show you guys that this is going to go to hell.
So we're going to watch the news, by the way, because I don't think people do that enough. So.
Oh yeah, nice.
Give me a second.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. I got all the time in the world.
Awesome. I'm sure everyone does.
Yeah, and I have my little shitty script, like the Ruby script, which connects to a public MQTT server online. Okay. No problem.
Okay. Obviously that stopped.
All Right, it's just going to reload it. You kind of get a hunch on what this is.
It was right to work on the basis that the OBR forecasts were correct. Well, joining me now from Westminster is the Conservative MP and former Attorney General Dominic Grieve. He supported the Remain campaign during the referendum. Thanks very much for joining me this afternoon. Where do you stand on the dreadfulness or otherwise of these forecasts?
I find the forecasts perfectly credible. Of course, their forecast is a forecast. It might be better than the OBR has forecast. It's possible it could be worse. But it's a perfectly credible basis to the way in which they presented their figures, and it reflects the reality of the very high economic risks that we run as a result of Brexit. We took a decision earlier this year which is fraught with constitutional, legal and economic difficulty. Where we will be in 20 years' time, I have no idea. But in the meantime, the immediate medium-term cost.
You kind of get the point. This is the subtitling for.
Let me show you actually
Yeah.
what it is. What we're watching. It's the BBC iPlayer live streaming. There's a bit of a syncing issue, but otherwise, that's what you're watching.
Awesome, awesome. And yeah, I'm just gonna go back to my slides.
Yeah.
Yeah, mirror displays. I don't want the mirror anymore. Thank you very much.
Will you be injecting words now?
We haven't gone there yet. You
Yeah,
have to,
that's the. Don't
small steps.
You're
Small
spoiling
steps.
it, man. You're spoiling it, bastard. All right. Oh yeah.
What happened with the no swearing thing?
Wait.
You said something about
No,
no
you're
swearing.
making nice. Come on, okay, continue. You
Okay.
tag, you're it.
So, so Elk is fun, right? So this is one of the things Elk can do. It can take all the sensors we found, put them on a nice little map, and you can see where the sensors are located. You can actually drill down all the way here. So if you want to see if someone's house, if you know someone, and you will see if their house is on MQTT, or in our data dump at least, we can actually go to the map and zoom in and find it. And you can see here the amount of sensors. So you have to separate brokers from sensors. So brokers are the servers, sensors are the ones sending the data. So you got about 60-something thousand at that location in Australia, up in Indonesia, and if you look, there's actually a lot of them spread around in the sea, and we assume a lot of them to be like drilling platforms and things like that that heavily use this protocol because they got bad connections. They need to send small amounts of control data, so that's why they show up there. And some other things that you can put on MQTT is if you have a pipeline where you send, through it you send, I don't know, oil or something of the like. Then obviously the whole world must know what the flow rate is here. Therefore, you put it on, take a broker, expose it to the internet, open up port 1883, leave the super channel enabled, and make sure that everyone can see what the status is of your pipeline. It's interesting data for everyone.
Yeah, you can see I censored a lot of stuff because they're everything in clear text.
Yeah.
By the way.
So I've learned actually this means number of satellites 12. So if you read this data and just try to sort of figure out what's going on in this section down here, we have GPS tracking is true, and we're moving at a speed of 29, and we're tracking Ramon. So if anyone wants to know so if anyone wants to know where Ramon is, you can check on this server.
And that was the X is up here for those. It's actually a government name. So I don't know if this tracking is, like let's track a taxi, or I don't feel like it. But it can all be a test server, right? More stuff. How about cars? Cars. Now I know for a fact that cars actually use MQTT, and I didn't then. So this was like, oh, it's cars. Yeah, you can actually see the speed and the brake, the turn. Or let's just put everything here on MQTT. So when you subscribe to MQTT, you have something called persistent messaging, which says every time you connect, you get this message. And yeah, I had to censor that one because yes, they were there.
But you know what? If you want like LastPass Premium cost money, this is just better.
This is better. Yeah, nobody knows about MQTT anyway.
Exactly, it's a hidden port.
Yep. So Sweden. What do we have in Sweden? Now, little bleak number of 333 brokers. But then again, it's not that bleak because you don't know how many clients are actually connected to it. It could be thousands. But we found stuff like the kitchen freezer, refrigerator. I know we found a Roomba as well, for some reason. So
And you say fast one-day scan, but it should more be like 45-minute hotel room scan.
exactly.
While being extremely hungover.
This one as well, I've actually mitigated. It was a big power company in Sweden that actually had this one open with firmware updates on some of their devices. But yeah, let's get, it's going to get a lot worse. If you think this is bad, it's going to get a lot worse.
So, we had someone spoil our surprise, you know?
And it wasn't you. Ta-da!
Exactly. This time it wasn't me. Last time was me. This time it wasn't. So, but we showed how to read data. The question is, though, can you write data? And yes, we can. Show the next one. So this is reading from that server where the data was sent to, and yes, we can. So it's not only reading data. We can write data.
So everything you have seen, everything you have seen now, probably the BBC thing as well, and the oil pipeline pressure control, the kitchen freezer, or the GPS tracking. I can actually write to that. I can actually change the value.
You need permission to do these things, just so you're aware.
Yeah, that's why we didn't do it.
I don't want to see weird messaging on BBC
public
iPlayer
on YouTube.
tomorrow.
We made a crime. Woo. So not only can we listen to data, we can send data in. But now your mind is going, and you're like, there's got to be some kind of protection here. There has to be something like valid signing and then IP whitelisting. Yes, there are in some cases. And I remember when I did this. Actually, MQTT has a secure protocol. So you can run over like TLS or something on 8889, I believe. I found two. Username and password were not many either. And even if there's username and password, it's weak. And how are you supposed to encrypt traffic on battery-driven IoT devices running MQTT? Now we're talking performance issues. If you have something that is mobile, battery-driven, and this is supposed to be a low voltage, low CPU type protocol, then all of a sudden you're in trouble, because now decoding and encoding, encrypting, and signing becomes a strain on the little device. So, might not always work.
So, what can we do? So remember, there is no IP in the world of MQTT, right? There's no, you can't just filter, well, perhaps there are ways, but MQTT itself doesn't allow you to do IP filtering. It doesn't really allow you to put that much in place. But what you can do is, first of all, there is support for username and password. It is beyond me why someone doesn't use it. It is supported. You know, just use a freaking username and password. That would have at least stopped Mascot from finding it. TLS, obviously with whatever issues TLS has, but it's still better than clear text communication. You can segment off your IoT devices. You can create like an IoT type gateway. So your devices communicate to IoT gateway, which then connects to the broker or something of the like. The thing is, though, and this is quite interesting, because if you take the pipeline pressure, where is that data actually coming from? I'm pretty certain there's not a MacBook stuck on the pipeline. Maybe there is, but you never know. Apple's everywhere now. But I'm assuming it isn't. I'm assuming it's a small battery-driven little device, and you have this issue. What are you going to do? Dig into the pipeline and like, password, I have to get the password in there. So it might take a while. I think we're going to see these issues for some time to come.
So, what more? How about 50,000 ATMs connected directly to the internet? I told you it's going to get worse. And you can see the count, the nominal, and the counts, and the coins, and the everything, last activity, last payout sum. You can see error messages. And oh, wait a minute, we can write to this. Which is freaking awesome, because I can say that, you know, if I have a big Russian or Chinese mob, those are the popular ones, right? And we decide to like, we'll tell it that there's zero money in 5 of the ATMs there. And then we'll wait with our, cool guns and buff dudes for the guard to come and try and fill it up. Now, people might think that this can't be real. This got to become some test server or something. Maybe. I actually looked it up, and it actually belongs to a bank.
Yeah, I think we figured out which bank.
Yeah. So that this is not test. You can see it live. I mean, it's error messages and GSM modules and serial numbers, and I mean that's nothing you would put up in a test. Then if it were test, it would probably look different to me, like test ABC test, and this is live.
Were there any credit cards in the sense of data?
No, it wasn't sending credit card data. It was sending account numbers though.
Yeah.
Like the account number of the person who owned the credit card.
So
But
this
not
is my whoops list. I call it whoops. So you decide to connect your company to that MQTT broker you have. Nice, yeah, sure. You thought that running emergency broadcast system over MQTT was an awesome idea. Now, I'm not bashing the protocol. The protocol is awesome. The implementation sucks. The news service retrieves its news from MQTT brokers or 15,000 ATMs. Why not an earthquake alarm system?
Or subtitles.
Exactly. Exposing your Bitcoin wallet. I've seen Bitcoin transactions and Bitcoin wallets over MQTT. I've seen chats, secure applications, people talking. Or even those popular fitness bands that people run around with, or they install an app on their phone. There's a popular one, I forgot the name. Own Tracks, there we go. So it's a popular one to find your own location if you get lost for some reason.
And the benefit is that not just you can find your location, everyone can. It's awesome.
And Neil's going to talk about this that I couldn't show in the United States, or else I would probably leave with a silver bracelet.
Yeah, so this is this is fun. If you, I don't know how well you can read it, but there's a mapping between the data up there and what you see in this web page. So, MQTT Broker, server pulls the data from the MQTT Broker and then displays it on a web page.
And not only can we change the data and say that it's an earthquake, if it ends up here,
not sure if you can see it, but yeah. You're looking at an MQTT-based cross-site scripting. So anyone who visits that page will get a pop-up. Well, not that page, because obviously we don't have permission, but our test server. Then you'll get a pop-up. So that's really cool, because I don't think request validation works on MQTT, but yeah.
Oh. And this is using a known example on how to do MQTT for web. So I just install that and follow the tutorial, and I could do the cross-site scripting.
It's really fun, by the way, if you start scanning the libraries that are there, because people don't check them, and GitHub is just full of stuff. So this was presented, not that page before, but during the DEF CON presentation, it was mentioned that earthquake sensors are hooked up to MQTT. What you're looking at there is a screenshot of an app in Japan. It's called Yarikuru. What this app is showing is that there's an earthquake of the magnitude 9.1 on the Richter scale, which occurred 40 minutes after the DEF CON presentation, and was available for about 30 seconds, and then was removed, and this happened due to a faulty sensor. That maybe it did. Maybe it was a faulty sensor. It just, sometimes
I mean the odds.
You just never know. Odds. You just never know, right?
Yeah. It could
and
be
since no one had permission to inject data here, I don't think that happened.
Yeah, no,
so,
okay, yeah.
So but so everyone in Japan who has this app installed actually got a notification that there's like an earthquake that's going to make the whole country go into the sea. It's happening right now. It's like, really? Yeah.
Nice. So, can there possibly be more stuff you can do? You all heard about Mirai botnet, right? I mean, like, I screened over that 4 years ago. Nobody listened. But when shit starts to sink, then everybody's like, oh my god. So, remember this. This is my take on the first botnet working over MQTT. This is actually a nice video as well. Single host backdoor. Here I connect to the public IoT Eclipse server, which is public and open for everyone. I then subscribe to Backdoor Online. That's one topic I can subscribe to. And then I go to my, that's not a PDF by the way, that's an exe file. And then you see Windows XP, what is beating my master? Because it's so awesome to say that. So if I wanted to send commands to this one, I'll just join the host name. And there's two other topics in there, get CMD and send CMD. And here I can choose dir, and you will see that I actually, over MQTT, have access to the server. Now, I made this work on multiple computers and operative systems, and even made a master channel. I'm going to skip this video though. Even made a master channel where you can actually issue commands to all your connected 100,000 botnet servers. So I'm going to skip this. It's the same, but it's Linux and Windows. So it's OS independent.
Okay, so not sure how wild your imagination has gone yet, but I just want to touch on the subject of Stuxnet because I think it's an interesting threat. I would assume most people know what it is. If you watch the documentary about Stuxnet, there's one thing that Eric says during that video. He says, "This is the first threat, the first malware that causes physical damage." Okay, and it causes physical damage, as in it makes things explode. There's been things before, like the CIH virus a long time ago, that would reflash the BIOS and make your motherboard, make your computer not start by destroying the motherboard or the BIOS on the motherboard. But that was still destroying software. So Stuxnet is destroying hardware, or something physical. And I think this is sort of the way things are going, because we're putting computers into everything. If you have the pipeline again, I think that's a very good example. What if you started pushing messages saying that the pressure is really low, please increase the pressure, and you keep going? The sensor writes what? Once every 10 seconds, once every minute maybe? I can write it once every, at least 10 milliseconds if I wanted to. So I would basically overwrite the sensor, and I would push my own messages in there, and then something would happen, because there's a lot of if this then that. So physical damage and the stuff we found is quite interesting. So I was playing with the scenario. So I heard the term cyber nuke, which I absolutely hated. Just cyber whatever is stupid. But I decided that instead of being against this whole cybersecurity, cyber blah blah, I was going to try to figure out what's the difference between something we call a cyber nuke and just getting freaking pwned. So cyber nuke, and the thing Stuxnet did is they released it, right? They had this malware, they released it, and it was designed to do something, and that was it. So that's, I think, is the correlation between a weapon where you fire it and that's it. You can't really run after the bullet and go, hey, stop, stop, stop. It just doesn't really work, right? You fire it and that's it. Whereas if you're owning someone, then you have some control over it, or expecting data back. There's some type of interaction between the two. Here it's fire and forget. So I was going on the topic of cyber nuke. I was thinking, so we have all these things. We found traffic lights, we can control them. Fire alarms, we can control them. We had nuclear plants, where there are rooms where you have the sensors for how much radiation is in the room. We can control them. And when in control, I mean we can actually fake the sensor. We can be the sensor, and we can fake data in. And sending just these three, and trust me, this is like 3 out of thousands, just endless. That's what I said in the beginning, right? It's so much that it's insane. If we just took those three and we picked one city, and we said that the fire alarm is going off in a few different places, the nuclear plant, which is close by, the radiation level is going really high, and will create some traffic problems with the traffic lights. We could basically destroy the city. We could know where all the emergency personnel is going. And with all the things that are going on today, if you would combine one of the physical attacks with something that creates these alarms all over the place, you could really completely wreak havoc. And I just want to come back to one point. We know all this because we connected to an open port on the internet using a protocol specification, listening to data for 10 freaking seconds. And this is the result.
Cool. So what's left? 59,000 brokers. sensors, ATMs, cars. I even found prisons with open door, closed door, live ones.
That was a fun one, by the way,
Yeah.
because we were discussing whether we should. We couldn't figure out which prison it is. But if we open the doors,
Yeah, we will probably read about it in the news. We didn't do it, please. So calm down.
we didn't have permission.
Yeah, we don't have permission.
No, so no opening doors.
So I'd like to leave you with one simple sentence. Please do not expose MQTT like this over the internet. Thank you very much. Light if people are falling asleep here.
So, thank you very much, and open for questions.
Oh, sorry. Is it over?
Ran out of coffee.
Yeah, we got one in the corner. Scream, dude.
Yeah.
Isn't it just like the wrong technology applied to different things? Like I mean, is the temperature sensor? Well, it makes sense. I mean, this device is just not powerful enough to send
Exactly.
more than that. Or what it MQTT, but like an ATM, seriously, I mean, it's like
Yeah.
and there's an actual computer running inside.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
It's just, I mean.
Yeah, think about that. The protocol isn't wrong. The protocol is so efficient. Imagine you have several 100,000 ATMs, and they all need to communicate in an efficient way. Then the protocol is awesome. It's the implementation that is the problem, because someone didn't do the IP whitelisting, firewalling, or allowing certain communication between node A and node B, and opening the broker on the internet. I mean, the protocol per se is freaking awesome, man. If you have a lot of devices, this is the protocol to do and to use. But
The thing is
Yeah.
that if you look at any other, take a web server, any other communication method that we use today, it's been built over time, right? We had SQL injection, cross-site script, we had all this crap going on for ages. And then the libraries got better, security functionality got built in, and so on and so on. This protocol has been evolving since 1998 to 1999. And no one's really cared about it before. And then all of a sudden the whole IoT explosion happens and now everyone's using it. And they're pulling libraries that are ancient of GitHub, which have, you found some of the more popular ones with SQL injection in them.
yeah.
And it's just there. And it's easy, it's quick to get working, and it's the same problem as always. And there's just no security measure anywhere. Yeah.
Just a follow-up question, then now there's a wrong thing applied, something cool applied to the wrong things. Let's put it like that. Are there any major players behind it, like some company or I don't know, like whatever it is, embedded system company, just like whoever is there thinks that is cool, but just like
I remember the
ready-made device and just apply to everything.
Yeah, there is actually some open libraries that you can use.
Do you remember
like
the protocol from the meeting protocol we found?
meeting?
The meeting protocol about where they discussed this presentation from the DEF CON?
Yeah, exactly. They kind of bash me.
Manufacturers or anything?
Yeah, not manufactured per se. There is a library standard you can follow, like HiveMQ has their type of it, and they have their recommendations. And a lot of those that you actually libraries, like the PAHO library for Python, or Ruby, or whatever you like to use, that you can actually put in on your sensors, and they use like an open library. And those recommendations they have there usually says username, password, maybe IP whitelisting, that would be good, and encryption. But nobody reads that. They take example code for setting up an example server, just copying and pasting. It doesn't work, it works. Okay, let it be. Let it be.
And that's why I said the protocol we found so we found a meeting protocol. We were doing some searching about MQTT, and they knew about the DEF CON presentation. And in that meeting protocol, it was about the MQTT standard. They actually specifically said they don't want to mention this because they don't want to raise flags about
Yes,
it.
yeah. They don't want to raise awareness.
And that's the thing about security. I mean, if all else fails, dig a big hole and stick your head in it. So,
Yeah, and that works usually,
Yeah.
right?
always.
Yeah. Right.
Perhaps you should stick the Census in there. That
Yes,
would
sir.
actually work.
For the, if you found like critical infrastructure things, did you contact any country specific?
Yes. He's asking if I found anything critical, and if I did I contact him? Yes, for those that I can actually find, because some of them are using a cloud service. Some of them are using the public broker, like the IoT.eclipse.org. They're using the live data on a public server. So I've actually contacted a few. The OS vendor was one. And it was actually a vulnerability, so I was involved in their global effort to close it down, because it was horrible. And I'm still in the works trying to figure out and even finding an attack plan on how to go to a huge company that I found and state this and say, hey, guys, you're vulnerable. You have like 20 clients underneath that are huge, and you're huge as well. I mean, they need to fix it and they need to alert their clients. But yeah, it's the attack plan.
Just remember, 2.8 million sensors. I don't know how much data there is, but there's a lot of data. A lot of them are just random strings. And figuring out everything is really hard. And then that's why we wanted to release it. This goes back to one of the first things I said, is we wanted to release it so people would open up their eyes and figure this out. But the explosion never happened, so now it's out there.
Oh, went
The
from
people who care.
explosion to silent fart, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like...
Yes.
Do you have any suggestions with, like, for us others that got know to this problem, what we should do to, like, inform people around us, or like?
Well, you can. She's asking what we can do to inform other people around you for this problem. I mean, you can reference to the DEFCON presentation that I made. It's public. There will probably be some YouTube videos. Hopefully, someone will actually get their YouTube video up online, because the other conferences sadly failed. So I mean, my DEFCON presentation is online. There's also some discussions online going on the MQTT, but they think I'm attacking them and the protocol, which I don't. And also ask yourself the question: I mean, do I really need to expose this device XYZ to the internet? I mean, that's the first.
Yeah.
If you need to think about the question, you shouldn't do it.
I think that's a very valid, because sometimes you find things and you wonder, why on earth would you, why, you know? And sometimes, you know, it's cool to say beep with your mobile to open your lock, but the key isn't that much harder. And when you expose stuff to the internet, you also have to ask yourself, do I want a random guy in Jamaica, or in this case, do I want Lucas to be able to open the door to my lock to my door? And if the answer is yes, then you should expose it to the internet. If the answer is no, then perhaps think about it, you know, a few times before you do it.
Yeah, this kind of smart home stuff. Would be able, like,
Just don't do it.
really scared or afraid.
No,
You have the Philips Hue thing at home.
the thing is, I love it.
Connection to the internet for that. You
Yeah.
can't do that, but I didn't do that because I don't want you guys like turning off and on my light.
Yeah.
So-
Good boy. I mean, I love IoT. I have IoT at home. I have the Philips Hue light bulbs. I freaking love it. I have a vacuum cleaner and everything's like, wow. I have a smart TV, though it's not connected because I don't trust it. But I actually test some of the stuff that I actually get home and test it. And what I would like to see in the near future is actually some form of standard. That means from the development phase up until you buy the product and you look at a stamp that says, this is following this standard, and you will have security updates between year X and Y. And we will provide you with security updates, and then this product is end of life. So that is something that needs to be fixed, even from the birth of the thing you're making, even if it's a smart TV. Man, I mean, even these sensors, even if you're putting something online, all right, we know OWASP has their standard. If you're following that one, you're pretty good. I mean, that's a good thing to do. And the same thing here, you need to find a standard, define it, follow it, and have it. And this is also a computer. I mean, all those sensors are also computers, so you'll probably be affected by the EU rule as well.
Yeah, but that's for leakage of personal data, maybe. But the thing is, I'm the absolutely opposite of him, by the way. I just rebuilt my entire house. I have no IoT whatsoever. Because, well, A, I need the exercise of going to the light switch. So that was a good argument. And secondly, I just, you know, I don't want to deal with it. And I don't see the point in it.
I love it, man. I love it. I mean, it's
But
no.
my key works.
Yeah.
You know, I put it in the hole and I turn it and it works.
Yeah.
And only the person who has the key can get in there. And I don't have to worry about
we'll
random.
see about that. All right. Anybody else?
You're not welcome anymore this week.
No, I know.
But you don't need the exercise, Lucas, right?
No, dude, come on. Just look at me. I'm like Arnold. Come on. Get to the chopper. All right. So anyone else? Awesome. Then you're free to leave, I guess.
Did you find
Oh.
you said you hooked it up to a normal Windows machine and you sent data back and forth using this protocol. Is it implemented in the new Windows version?
He wrote the client. He wrote the script. If you looked, he was actually using a script to do the connections. So he wrote both ends of it. You were saying something?
out of curiosity, did you find any traces of anyone else abusing it while you were looking into it?
No,
But there was an
that's the
earthquake
thing.
in Japan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that was a faulty sensor, just
Yeah.
so we're clear on that.
But not, I know some of friends of mine are actually setting up like MQTT honeypots to see what actually goes on. But it's really uncharted waters. Nobody knows. I mean, if I were to send the ping command, I bet there's something that's going to respond. If I send the ping command over MQTT, I bet there's something going to respond to that, like a command execution. I know the OS vendor actually had command execution on their servers, on the inside of the network, connected to an external broker. So you could like ping and host name and like, oh, I can take over the, I better alert those guys. So, yeah. Anyone else? Any takers? Going once?
I think we're stopping beer time.
Yeah, beer time.
So, yeah.
All right, thank you guys.